Hello, I'm Travis Mills, and I make westerns.
Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you for watching and listening. Today I have a great guest. We worked together twice last year. We'll talk a lot about that and his long career in the movie business. Without further ado, Matthias Hues. How you doing, man?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Travis, for having me. I was really looking forward to talk to you once we are off the set, because you and me shared a lot of adventures lately, right?
Yes, we definitely shared some adventures last year, and hopefully
Yes.
some more to come. So, we'll talk about those films that we worked on together. I think we'll probably end there. But you've had a long career in the movie business, but as probably people can tell from your accent, you weren't born in America, right? So I want to talk a little bit about your background and how you came to live in America. But first, I have a question. There is a German writer of westerns named Karl May, and many people know
Yes.
him. And I'm curious if if you were aware of him growing up, and he's kind of responsible to some degree for making westerns popular in Germany.
Yes, Karl May is the single-handed most influential Western writer in the history of all of Europe. So, ironically, he's not an American, and he was writing Westerns with Indians and cowboys. And there is not a boy in my generation who weren't dressed up for Halloween, or we have a similar Halloween like you, as Old Shatterhand or Winnetou. There's nothing in the middle. And my sister was, what was her name again? The female Winnetou, I forgot the girl's name. Anyway, so I was always Old Shatterhand, and I was a proud Old Shatterhand, and people that were a bit darker were the Winnetou. So I grew up with it. I love it. We have still a film festival called the Karl May Film Festival, which is a live performance of his books. And there's not a German who doesn't know it. And to really quickly add to this, we were trying actively about 7 years ago to produce a Karl May movie. And we couldn't get it done in America because it was with all the big agencies, because there wasn't an awareness of Karl May as much as it is in Europe. And we were all German produced. I mean, I'm just the actor, but the group was German. And we were very disappointed we couldn't get that done, yeah.
Well, don't give up. Maybe you and I can do a Karl May movie one of these days. I already have a group, a cavalry group in Germany. These guys are cavalry reenactors who live in Germany and are trying to convince me to come there to make a Western in Germany. So, you never know. It's possible.
It's not far-fetched. I grew up in Europe, and there was also Terence Hill and Bud Spencer. That is not a real Western. It's a spaghetti rip of a Western. But it was the most influential cowboy duo in my generation as well. And all of these films I just recently watched again have been shot in Spain, mostly Spain and Italy. And it looks just like Arizona, like the real Wild West. And they have all the cowboy towns there. And these people are very serious about reenactments.
Yeah, that would be fun.
So for you,
even the woods of Germany, I think, could be used for a different kind of Western, because some Westerns are set in the forest and all of that. You could do a winter Western or something. So who knows?
Like we did in Montana, right? There's many areas. Montana is one of a kind, but you can fake it too.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So how did you come to be involved in this crazy business of making movies? Tell me the story. Give me the rundown.
Yeah. Well, it's really simple. It was a girl that I had a crush on, and she brought in a magazine with Dolph Lundgren, and she said, "Oh, that's my dream man, only him and nobody else." And then it just happened to be that Rocky IV came out that week as well, and I looked at Rocky IV, and I realized I will never get that girl, but I'm going to go to America. I'm going to sell my fitness center, and I'm going to go to America, and I'm going to challenge Dolph Lundgren to a duel, and I will be in the movies. I'm opposite Dolph Lundgren one day, just to make it men's, And I literally, that's what happened.
Yes, it is.
I
We'll
went to
talk about that
America.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, so I sold my gym, but the problem is I had a credit. I wasn't even owning the gym any longer. I had a contract with the bank, and I gave the key to my best friend. I said, here's your business, here's your life, here's your future. I don't need one. I had $1,400 in the pocket, and I went to America. And I ended up in the valley somewhere on the street in a motel and thinking, well, let's become an actor, let's go. Let's hit the road. That's how it started.
So
it was
at that point,
actually.
It was very stupid, you said?
Yeah, it's against all odds, literally.
Well, you made it, man.
I mean,
that's all that matters.
I know, but I mean, you're German, your accent is so strong, you can't act for shit. I mean, what the hell? Nobody waits for you, that's for sure. But there was always a way,
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, there's an expression in America where there's a will, there's a way. And obviously it doesn't work out for every single person, but you were determined. And I love that it all went back to a girl saying that to you. That's a great inspiration, So you get to America. Now, had you already made a name for yourself to some degree as a bodybuilder in Germany?
No, I was the only one that wasn't a martial art champion or a world champion. I'm no champion. I'm nothing. I wasn't even a professional bodybuilder. I was just banking on the fact that I was a track and field athlete, and I knew I physically can do certain things other people cannot do. And so I figured, well, I was always number one in Germany in track and field, German champion in pentathlon and all that stuff. So I thought, well, maybe I have a shot that way. But it was all about, when I got there, it was all about martial arts. It was who is the next Van Damme? But I knew that if you are bigger, okay, so I had one thing going. I had long hair and I had muscles and I had Bavarian leather pants and a muscle shirt, and I made that my calling card. So I knew I had to stand out. Like, even if people laugh at me, I knew I had to be from another planet to get attention. And I did get attention. I took a picture like that, and I posted at Gold's Gym, and that picture was stolen every week from the wall. And I knew I had something going on, And that picture basically got me an audition to replace Jean-Claude Van Damme in a movie, And I
in which
came
project?
to that
This is
audition. No Retreat, No Surrender. Part 2. That Van Damme was walking out of the movie. He had an argument with the producer, and they were all in Thailand. Brian is actually. I met Brian at that time. Also, he was an underling of the stunt coordinator at that time. And long story short, the people in the gym, in Gold's Gym, received a phone call frantically. Oh my God, we need to replace Jean-Claude Van Damme. Do you know anyone from Europe? And I just got there from Germany. And they said, yeah, there's this German guy. He's a martial artist, which I wasn't. I just lied. And he's crazy. I mean, he walks around in leather pants. He has long, big muscles and all this. So the producer actually agreed to see me. And I had to fight him in the audition and everything. And he said, you're not Jean-Claude Van Damme. I can't cast you. But the writer of the movie said, who is also the producer, that guy's going to be a star one day. So either you hire him or there will be no movie. So they had to hire me. Yeah. And I arrived in Thailand. And I did, they called me down from the hotel to my room. And they had all the cameras set up in Bangkok and hundreds of people watching and everything. And they said, now show us how you can fight. And I didn't know how to fight like Van Damme, and then they all yelled at me in Chinese, basically translating, who the fuck, who brought this idiot? He's ruining our movie. And they actually left me there. They left me there. They went to shoot the movie, and They said, well, we're just going to train you. We have no chance, you know. And then I trained with someone for 4 or 5 weeks, and I actually picked it up because I'm an athlete. And it turned out that it was something I naturally could do. I mean, I already knew Taekwondo and all this stuff, you know. So I actually could fake it to make it.
Yeah, I was about to say,
convince-
that's the American expression, you fake it until you make it. You know, it's really interesting that you kind of almost had a costume to sort of get attention for yourself. And that's something that I've kind of learned over time, is that you can totally change the way people perceive you based on how you present
Absolutely.
yourself and how you dress, you know, and you can play a character in real life to open up these opportunities. It's like people saw me as a cowboy in Montana because I wore the belt buckle and the jeans and the boots and the cowboy hat, but I'm not a cowboy at all, but I'm just, you know, kind of giving them that impression of me, which is pretty funny.
It's exactly true. And the first time I met you, Travis, without knowing you, I thought, wow, that's the real deal. I met you on the Western, and you were right away the real deal for me because you act like, well, you are. I mean, you know how to write, you have the language down, you look like it. I'm like, yeah, that's the real deal there. I believe it. So I think one thing is for sure, Travis, and you know that, you can only fake it so far in this business. You have to be for real in one way or the other. You have to show the world that you really know what you're doing. And if you're not good, you're out. Finished. Goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you had that opportunity, and you showed them that you could do it. Like you said, you had the athletic ability, so you were able to learn and adapt. So that's good.
Right. And I, Travis, just like you, I mean, we'll talk about you in a minute. I would have killed myself. I'd rather die on that film set than not do. If they say, do this, no matter how dangerous, I will do it, you know? And I just made a conscious decision. If I die today, I'll die not in vain, you know, for my career. And I've seen you. If you want me to say it real quick, I mean, you were doubling me, from all people, to do the most difficult stunt that in our business, the most difficult stunt is being thrown, lassoed off a horse. If you would have been actually lassoed for real, it would have been less dangerous at what you did, because you were attached to a tractor and you ride gallop till the rope extends, and you were flying so violently off that horse in such a, I mean, just watching it makes me ill. And we were all ill. I thought you're going to be never, I thought you're going to be dead, right? And but you took it. You took that. I mean, about you, Travis. I was thinking that man is for real, because that's what I had to do in order to get attention. I did it, and you did it. Not to get attention. You were just there. You bailed us out, because I certainly, I'm 63. I'm not fluid anymore like you are, right? So I can't physically do it. No one on the set was willing to do it, but you did it. And that's what it takes to be recognized in the film business. You know, you must be for real at one point in your career. At least, please survive it too. Show the world you are for real. Yeah.
Well, I always tell...
Then you operate the camera. Like nothing ever happened.
Right. Well, I always tell people that I have no desire to ride a motorcycle or to skydive or to do all these certain things. But if I have to do them for a movie role, you better believe I will learn in an instant, because movies are my life. And, you know, what I'm willing to do for a film within reason is different than what I want to do just for pleasure, you know? So it was fun, man. It was a lot of fun. We'll talk a little bit more about the Montana film and all of that great experience. But before we get too far off, I want to come back to Dolph Lundgren, because we got to talk about this movie. It's a cult classic. Some people call it Dark Angel. Some people call it I Come in Peace. I've actually read two different, stories about what's the original title of this movie.
Dark Angel. It's Dark Angel.
Cool.
Yeah.
Because when I
And
first saw it
that,
back years ago as a kid, it was called I Come in Peace. And now I see on Tubi, where I watched it, it's called Dark Angel. So how did you come to make this movie? And tell people the role you play and all of that.
yeah, it's a bit of a process because first you do this movie with I replaced Van Damme, and that movie came into a theater. It was a big theatrical movie, and it was making good money. And the phone rings the next day, and then there's the next role with this another action movie, and then people know you. They know, oh, there's this guy. He's from Germany, and he's willing and able to do stuff, and he has the body for it. And there came this call. They were looking for professional athletes only, who would be about 6'6" and taller, in order to do some action movies, but they have to be willing to do their own stunts. And so it came about that this call reaches me too, because that's the kind of profile I had by then. And I walk into the production office, and yes, they're all professional athletes. Mostly African Americans, also very tall, very good looking, big muscles. And I thought, this is going to be tough because there's a lot of athletes in this world, you know. But then I walked in. The moment I walked in, Greg Bexley looked at me, and he basically sent everybody home. And he took me in the room, and he said, would you be willing to risk your life every day for me? I mean, I'm telling you, you're going to have to do what I say. Will you be willing to do this? I said, yeah, I'll do whatever you say. He said, okay, I just want to let you know, this movie was written for Dolph. And Dolph, for some strange reason, doesn't want to be the Dark Angel. And this is your opportunity in Hollywood to become an iconic figure, like Terminator. And I still don't understand why Dolph doesn't want to play the role. But he insists on playing the cop. So I'm giving you the lead, basically, because it was written for Dolph to be the Dark Angel. And I thought, how's that even possible? Dolph Lundgren, the guy, wow, the universe, this is crazy. And I thought, okay, this is really interesting. I'm going to take that opportunity, and I will kill myself. I don't care if I die. I will show them who's the Dark Angel. Right? That was my opportunity to square off with Dolph. I'm not talking about like some insane person wants to square off with someone. This is a athletic square off. This is a man's world. You know, this is not two weird people fighting each other. Dolph Lundgren had no idea who I am. To that day, he probably never knew and doesn't care. I was just an actor coming on board. That was just my story. I have to prove myself. This is my opportunity to do so. And it was. That shoot was very dangerous and full of challenges. And I wasn't even finished shooting it, and suddenly they closed down the film set, and I'm like, what's going on? I'm having to jump through the fire there and all this shit. No, not yet. Jake Bloom is here, and another agent, and these are the deal makers in Hollywood, and when they show up, we have to close the set because they want something from you. And I said, okay. And then they came to the set, and I was all dressed like a Terminator. I'm 7 foot tall with my shoes, and they put me in the Porsche. I don't even know how I got in it, to a restaurant, Italian restaurant. Just walking into the restaurant, everyone thought there's like Terminator breaking out and killing everybody, you know. And then, long story short, he said, I watched 10 minutes of that film, and you are the next Arnold Schwarzenegger. You are the next guy. I have Bruce Willis, I have Dolph Lundgren, I have Jean-Claude Van Damme, I have Arnold Schwarzenegger. You are my next big guy. So you can sign with me tonight. I get you 3-picture deal in any studio in town, minimum $1 million salary, and you the next guy. Finished. So, and I did sign, and that was it, you know. And they were thinking that Dark Angel is the next Terminator. They were convinced of it. I mean, that was just like the director said, it's your movie, you're going to be the next big guy in Hollywood. But the movie didn't make it in the box office. It was a box office flop. And it was Dolph's last movie. So that's how Hollywood is. I call my agent, and then I call Jake Bloom and everybody. They don't even want to return my phone calls. And eventually I have a meeting in the office and they said, there is no deal. Matter of fact, let me tell you, your career is over. So is Arnold's, so is Stallone's, so is all of your muscle guys. It is changing now. And it will be the Brad Pitt, the Keanu Reeves, and it will be other people. You can pack up your stuff and leave. But he said the same thing to Arnold. And Arnold actually parted ways with Jake Bloom at that time because it was where Brad Pitt, Keanu Reeves were suddenly Helen of Troy and John Wick and all this stuff, right? It wasn't us any longer. And so all of us, including Dolph Lundgren, Steven Seagal, Van Damme, we all disappeared in Bulgaria doing C movies, you know. And Stallone wasn't working for 6 or 8 years. He was just playing golf and doing all kinds of things. We were gone, finished, goodbye, hasta la vista. The time of the muscles are over. So we all had to survive it. And I was also one of the casualties. Yeah, there's always a rebirth. And the rebirth for Dolph came in Expendables and for Van Damme a little bit earlier, but also Expendables. Steven Seagal was invited to be in the Expendables. Dolph Lundgren, obviously. But I was not the star they are. I was almost but failed person that didn't make it to our level. So I wasn't even asked to be in Expendables. So then over time, DVDs and streaming services. Yep. At one point, everyone sees your movies anyway, you know. So, but you are not a star anymore. You're just you have to fight for your life to get back into that group, you know, and that's not easy.
Yeah, that's a fascinating history that I was not really familiar with, sort of like you're saying, the collapse of the Muscle Man era, and that it all happened right around the time of the release of Dark Angel, which was, I think, probably Dolph's biggest movie, and obviously an opportunity for you to get a lot of attention. Also, for all the actors out there, I think that's a great story because it's a big reminder to them of how fickle the movie business, specifically Hollywood, can be. You know, a lot of people are like, I just need to sign that big deal. I just need to get a great agent. It's like, hey man, it could all change in a heartbeat, you know, and people are always chasing what's popular. But by the time you've caught it, you know, you've been chasing it, you catch it, it might not be popular anymore. So I think people need to realize that things are just constantly changing, you know.
Yes, and you have to evolve with it and change too. I mean, I never forget it. I made my money by going to foreign countries. I get invited by all kinds of people to travel to Uzbekistan, Egypt, wherever these movies were famous, you know. And at one point, I had given up all my muscles and I cut my hair short and I wanted to be like Liam Neeson. And I remember arriving in Moscow. They almost sent me back on the plane because you think, well, I didn't make it that way. I had a good run, but then look at Liam Neeson. Let me be like him. But people don't want that. You got to stay faithful to the thing you carved out for yourself. You're either a cowboy or you're the long-haired muscle man. You got to stick with it till even if you lose it all, because that is the last thing. One day someone says, no, I need exactly that person, right? And then you have to fulfill that fantasy of that producer or whatever person that pays you big money to show somewhere. So I learned the moment I regained my muscles and let my hair grow and I became Matthias Hues 1993 again, people suddenly call you again. So you can never sell yourself out either. So you either are Robert De Niro, or you're Travis, or you're Matthias. Whatever made you become noticeable in the business, you must stick with it. Because, you know, we are not gray people. Like Robert De Niro is like a gray person, you know. He will always be working, character actors. But I have friends who are just like Robert De Niro or Billy Bob Thornton. They're as talented, but they're all, you're either famous or not. It's like, who has the formula? I don't know. You know? Just if you commit to it, stick with it because it's going to be more than 10 years. 20 years.
Oh yeah, and I think
Look at
you have to decide what's important to you, right, in terms of the goals to reach. Because for me,
right.
it's never been important to maybe make big movies. It's just been important to make movies, and that's the thing about your career too. Is maybe you didn't skyrocket to stardom, but look at the incredible body of work that you have. And guess what? If we all waste away, that work is still there. Right. And it lasts, it outlives all of us. And I think there's a lot of value in that. That's what I try to remind my cast and crew every time we start a movie is what we do every day is going to last forever, or at least as long as people watch movies. So make it count, you know?
Right. And you have to have a certain motivation doing it because it's not something, it costs you a lot of time, money, and energy to produce a movie, right? And there are so many movies out there by now. It is very difficult to get attention drawn to you because the market is so gigantic. Like if you're a consumer, you go to Netflix and you find yourself being impatient because there's not enough product. But as more product is out there, as less the product means anything. So when you and me were growing up, we went to Blockbuster and there was a Western or any kind of film that had any importance to you, you were waiting for it feverishly. But by the time you had that VHS or DVD in your hand, it meant something. So now we have a problem. That movie on Netflix, number 10, if you're even in the number 10, right, range, will be gone. Much later.
Right.
And I say, hey, John, listen to this movie. They say, no, I don't remember the movie I watched last night.
Right. We're oversaturated. There's too much. There's so much that, like you said, everything gets overshadowed and things get forgotten very easily. So before we get too far off of it, I have two more questions about Dark Angel. Okay. The first is, you mentioned that it was a dangerous set, that you guys were doing challenging things. It was directed by a stunt guy, right? He was a stunt performer, I think, originally. What were some of the dangerous stunts that you did? As you know, I'm interested in that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, just like the firework is really dangerous. So basically, you always have to outrun real explosions, not fake ones. These are fire explosions. They're very dangerous. So the problem is that I was wearing contact lenses, that I literally am blind. For one, I'm blind. And second, he said, I have shoes that make me 4 or 5 inches taller than Dolph. Dolph is exactly my height because I had to be taller than him. And it's very difficult to be athletic, running for your life in plateau shows while you can't see where you're running to. So, for instance, you have a scene where you have 15 cars lined up, right? Or 20, I don't remember. And you have to run onto the cars, and each car is supposed to explode when you're on it, or kind of when you leap to the next one. And then you jump on fire through a window, and then there's a 70-foot drop, right? A 70-foot drop minimum. And then they built a scaffold up to where you're coming out of the window, and then there is the cameraman, the sound man, and 2 people holding on to everything. And then basically you have to run over the cars blind while the cars explode, jump on fire through the window, and don't overspeed it so you take down everybody 70 feet with you into death. So, and that is only one shot. So you do it with your regular eyes in regular touring shoes to get the speed going and the memory. And then you have to do it blind with 4-inch heels while these things explode. And then, well, before I do it, I hear the not the fight coordinator, the explosion guy saying to Greg Baxley, this is so dangerous that if Matthias is not careful, he will explode himself. And I hear how the director said, don't worry about Matthias. He just has to run a little faster. And I think, whoa, I'm blind. I can't see anything. When I say blind, I'm not exaggerating. When you have contact lens without, it's opaque, so you only see a black and white schematic outline, like a legally blind person, who can still, just see a little bit. As soon they're in, they have to hold my arm and maneuver me around. So it's all muscle memory, brain memory. So that's just one day where you think, okay. And that happened almost every day, where I hear, this is not going to work out well for Matthias. And Greg Rexy always said, no, don't worry about him. He's okay. Worry about your explosions. He'll be fine. Don't worry about him. He outruns anything. And I do outrun anything. I mean, I can jump, like, not anymore, but I could jump over a car if I want to, So I used to be a high jumper, especially when the fire is after you. And then finally I had to put my foot down. Benny Pepper, God bless his soul, from Texas, he actually jumped the 70-foot down on fire in a separate shot into an airbag. And I'm looking down and say, I don't even see the airbag. How are you even going to find this tiny little thing down there? And he did. So that jump was above my pay grade. It's impossible. I mean, you think I can do anything athletic, but to jump in, I don't know if it's 70 feet. I can't say it. It's maybe 30 meters or 40 meters. I think in meters. If you look down and you see there's a giant airbag with a cross, but you have a hard time seeing that thing, good luck jumping in it. Well, that's a craft you need to learn, right? You start with 10 meters, 15. 10 meters is a lot, by the way. You start with 4 meters, 7, 10, 15. You learn how to do this. I mean, there's a lot of, you can learn it, but, there's a limit to what you can instantly do on a film set.
Yeah.
So
well, maybe that's what Brian Christensen will have me do on the next movie, right? I'll be jumping up with something. Let's hope not. At least my parents hope not.
I said, that stunt you did is iconic. For me, that's an iconic thing. Just like what I did with running over the cars. Is also, I would have to say, it's iconic. Good luck doing it. What you did, same thing, iconic. That is fucking. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to curse. That's crazy.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, man. It was probably, this tells you something about me. When I think about last year, which is a pretty hard year for me, I think about what was my favorite moment of last year. And really, my favorite moment was coming off that horse, which shows you a lot about me and my personality, is that's the highlight of the year for me. But these things, if you survive them, you never forget. And it, like I said, it lasts forever. I mean, you see it in that trailer. It's like, that's me. That's me right there,
You got my respect. Yeah. It's all about getting people's respect.
For sure. So one more thing about Dark Angel. I was reading online that for years you pushed for a sequel. Okay, now first of all, let me say that Dark Angel, if people haven't seen it, well, let's take it back just a second. It is a sci-fi thriller. Dolph Lundgren plays this cop. He's looking for this alien killer, played by our podcast guest, in a very quiet. I don't think you say anything the entire movie, but you have a very devilish smile that appears sometimes, and you kill a lot of people. But you're basically an international drug dealer, and it's an incredible concept for a sci-fi western that really, like I said, if you all haven't seen it, find it online. So what was the concept for the sequel, if you can tell me? What was the sequel about?
Yes, I have a really, really, really good concept. And I'm not sure if Dolph already has the script. I told the people I just worked in France with that also did interviews with Dolph for Dark Angel for the new release. It's about Dolph being a sheriff now in a remote cowboy town. He's like demoted to be the sheriff in a local town in Texas because they needed to get rid of him because he is the only one that knows about that this was for real. These were a drug dealing alien coming from another planet. So they make him from the outside like he's a disturbed old man and he has a few more years left before his pension, and they send him in this town, and Dolph Lundgren is now a sheriff, walks around with a cowboy hat like a cowboy and all that, right? And he's obsessed with aliens. And they keep saying, stop this thing, there are no aliens, obviously. You're imagining this. And he said, no. And he keeps investigating things, right, about the possibility there must be more. Turns out there's some kids in Sweden that go on a ski trip and they get snow in a snowstorm. They enter an American black site. You know, those black sites exist everywhere. It's like a bunker. And turns out that this thing is being deserted, but it's still guarded by Swedish people. But long story short, in the basement, it's me hanging there, completely demolished, with a bunch of other angels like me. And the kids happen to infiltrate it and get into this forgotten black site, more or less, and accidentally, by being stupid, activate us, basically, from the chains. You know, I'm still alive, but badly burned, and I have an army behind me of other aliens that are also badly damaged. And we are escaping, and we are starting slaughtering the countryside. It's all in snow, you know. We're going everywhere, slaughtering people, starting this thing again. And then there's an investigative female reporter who gets a hold of Dolph and says, you should come back to your home country. They're back out there. This is for real. And then he gets assigned to a lookalike, a Dolph Lundgren lookalike, who is as young and good looking, but Dolph is now older, who is the cop in charge of it, trying to hinder the investigations. And then all three get torn into this for real alien thing. And over time, you know, even though I'm still like screwed up and disabled, there's a lot of damage we are doing, you know, and they're saving the day and whatnot, you know. So, but it's a good role for Dolph because it's, you know, he plays himself disgruntled, but still hanging on to that. No, there's still the danger, and yes, there is still that dark angel. And so that's just a short version of it. You know, we wanted to do it in Sweden because as a homage to Dolph, and also in the winter with all the blood. You know, it's very bloody. And then there's an entire village in the end, an entire Swedish, like Viking people type people who will fight us together with Dolph, you know, to see if they can get rid of the dark angels. You know. So it's a very bloody, gory movie with a lot of tongue in cheek, and would be great for Dolph. And I play myself a little bit. And there's a little girl in it and everything. I mean, it's kind of like a good story, really. Maybe I produce it myself. Like I want to do Kinski, you know. But you never. Well, it all depends. The financials in the world are at the moment, as we know it, unfortunately not the best because of the Ukrainian. Yeah, so that affects all of us. I don't know. Give it 3-4 weeks, we will find out how bad it's going to be for the international financial market. However, one thing, films will always be needed.
Yeah. Yeah, they were being made during World War II, so we know that films are made even during wartime. But as you said, everything's kind of uncertain right now, and in almost a little bit of a state of limbo, probably some people feel that, you know.
Probably. I mean, I don't know. Travis, it's very interesting. Where's that money always coming from for the movies? Someone has to finance it. You have to always find something. You know how it goes, right? And that's not an easy thing. It used to be easier because the banks were involved and you could write it off the taxes and all that stuff. Hollywood always looks for the next dime.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're always chasing the money. You know, I love the concept of the movie. I will say, though, at first I thought you were going to have the alien come to the desert town, which I thought would be pretty cool because then it could be Cowboy Dolph versus, you know, Matthias in the West. So maybe that's another film, you know. But it reminds me of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, The Last Stand. You know, that movie that he made, which is actually pretty good, where he's the sheriff. Yeah, this kind of reminds me of that.
It was really good. To be honest, I'm always attracted to characters like that who are now sheriff and, you know, in some village, and Last Stand is fantastic. I mean, you know, I actually even like Rambo. He had a bit of, you know, the last Rambo. I like older men now. Obviously, I like older men now that are still kicking ass too, you know. I was very happy when Liam Neeson suddenly showed up. I was happy when Sylvester Stallone kept making movies.
Absolutely, you know? Yeah. Well, it opens up the market. They see that that's a good idea, and then they want to cast more people and bring them back. So before we start talking about the working with Dallas Saulnier on the films that we did, I want to mention two more films in your filmography that I think are interesting.
Mm-hmm.
One is Cyberzone, which I guess was originally called Droid Gunner. Now, the reason that I was attracted to this movie is that it stars Mark Singer. Now, I grew up watching V with Mark Singer, probably still one of my favorite shows ever. But what was that like to work on? And those that don't know, Matthias has a great role in this. He plays like a bounty hunter who has kidnapped these pleasure droids, and when he's trying to escape, when he first kidnaps them, they won't get off of him. So every time I watch that scene, I think I'm making the wrong kind of movies. I should be making movies like this.
It was crazy because I didn't know what I was getting into. I had no idea. The script reads a bit different than when you film it. Next thing you know, you're surrounded by literally gorgeous girls and their pleasure droids, and you realize, once they're activated, that's what they do. And then you have them all, and you have to transport them to the galaxy, and they're always kind of hindering you. And I was thinking, Mark Singer was always one of my favorites. I mean, Beastmaster, all that. And I thought, what are we both doing in this movie? That was my first thought. And I thought, but if Mark does it, why should I not do it? That's how I was arguing with myself. And the director is Fred Olen Ray is kind of a genius, because to pull this off for low budget, and it is a genre-driven film, it is a fine line type of a film. It's a bit risque. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, you know? It's almost like a cult movie in a way, and it was a lot of fun doing it. So, but I have to say, when I went to Europe, my fan club there said, "Why are you doing this kind of film?" I mean, from Dark Ages,
right?
It's going to ruin your career. And I said, "Well, that's Hollywood. It's not like you're always doing big budget action films. You as an actor, you must survive. I mean, it's not. It's part of being an actor. You're like a canvas for other people.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah, Fred Olen Ray, I was going to ask about him because I feel like he and Albert Pune, who I think you also worked with, are almost like the kings of, I wouldn't say the B movies, maybe the kings of the C movies. But these guys have made a ton of movies for years. They're kind of the masters of that, segment of film.
I totally respect them, because you know also, Travis, it's harder to do a film for not so much money. So if you have a third of a budget of what other people have, you really have to be a craftsman. You have to be good at it's way more difficult to shoot 12 Westerns and to shoot droid, not saying this is the same type movie, it's a different genre, but it's way more difficult to do that than shoot a $10 million movie. You can't even compare.
Absolutely.
It's like you're very talented in order to pull this off. You must be talented.
It's a certain kind of talent to be able to manage that, and those guys definitely do it. The other film of yours that I was watching last night was The Age of Treason. And the reason I watched it is you got to play a gladiator, which had to be fun. And I really like Brian Brown a lot, but the one thing that I thought was funny about this, it's a Roman story, and there's an Australian with an Australian accent in ancient Rome, which is kind of funny. Yeah. Any good memories from that one?
Yeah, I have nothing but great memories. This is a hell of a story. It's starting with the casting call. The casting call went out from Fox, right? Seeking the sexiest man alive. So my agent calls me and I said, you have to be kidding me. I mean, I ripped it off and I said, good luck with, I don't see myself at all like that. And they said, no, but they're going to see you. You can't just not go. And I said, okay, I'll go. Against all odds, right? So I go there, and the guy before me walked out was Fabio. I don't know if you know Fabio, which was officially the sexiest man alive in the 90s. He had all the US cover, Us cover, or People cover. He was with Oprah always. He was the sexiest man alive. He just left. And I thought, why am I even bothering going, right? And I read, and the guy said, "You're the guy." And I thought, wait, this is too easy. This is too good to be true. How can I, from all the people in the world, I just walked in and I had the role. I already had the role just by walking in, right? Well, you must understand, I was really big. I had a lot of muscles. So, but then it's not as easy as people think. Next thing you know, you end up in Universal Studios, which is not even related to Fox. You're in that black tower, and you read in front of about 10 people who throw pencils in the air, see if they stick and all this. I mean, it's kind of like, who are these people? There are so many. And then you read for them, they're laughing, and and you're like, okay, I got this movie. Next thing you know, you get a phone call. No, you have to go to CBS. Oh, okay. Again? I thought I already have the movie. No, you got to go to CBS. So I go to CBS, and I'm suddenly in a theater, in an actual theater, on stage, by myself, and the curtain opens. And then there's the room full of suits, black suits, Nobody smiles. Half of them are women. You feel like these are your enemies. They're not there to love you. And so I perform my heart out, which is, I'm soaking wet. I'm so nervous. I perform my heart out. And I walk off the stage, and the producer comes, "Oh, Matthias, 50-50. 50% says yes, and the others say we should have to look worldwide. London, Paris, Rome. Sorry, I'll keep you in abreast." So the guy leaves, gone. 2 months, I don't hear anything. He says, "I'm calling you from Rome. We looked at every single actor in the world. You're the one. You got that role. And it's the biggest, most expensive pilot ever shot. So this is a big deal." And I'm like, yeah, I get, the limo, the first class, all this thing, I already know I'm going to run with this show. I'm going to make this my show. And then while we shoot, I'm like, "Hey, Brian, this is going to be great. You and me in a television series, most expensive pilot ever shot." And he says, "I don't feel like doing it." I'm like, "What do you mean you don't feel like doing it?" "Well, I'm not going to move to Tunisia and Rome to shoot this. I live in Australia. I love it. I just want to shoot the pilot." And I thought, "You're kidding me. This is our chance to have our own TV series." And he's like, "No, I'm not interested." And then the movie was made. And listen to this. This is a true story. I don't even know if I should say this, but this is how Hollywood works. My fiance at that time is an upcoming famous actress, and the head of the production company for CBS, I don't know if it's true or not, but I tell you, there's something to it, was trying to date her. And he said, once they were going out and they're talking about all this, and then she says, "Yeah, but Matthias is my fiance." And he said, "If I ever would have known that Matthias is your boyfriend or fiance at that, I would have never given him that role." Long story short, that show never saw the day of the light. That show was canned. It never even made it. It was against all odds, and it was in the shelf for years. That's it. And that's how Hollywood is. You're already celebrating, you get a TV series. Real quick, so you understand. Just before that, they're casting Hercules. And guess who got the role? Lou Ferrigno, myself, and Kevin Sorbo. We all signed the contract. And they looked at everybody in Hollywood. We three signed the final contract for Hercules, right? But that doesn't mean anything. In the end, it was Kevin running with it. So they decided, Lou, nah, Matthias, nah. But they make us all sign the contract. Like a preliminary money deal memo, so to speak. And then this happens all the time. And it's only one that will run away with a series. It's only one. It was Kevin Sorbo. And our show never made it for whatever reason. Kevin Sorbo's made it. I almost got it, but I didn't. And this is what you got to live with. There's so many stories like that. I had my own sitcom with Fox, playing Arnold Schwarzenegger. It got canceled the day before we started shooting. We're talking about an endless amount of stories I can tell you of near misses, and I'm not the only one.
Oh, no, it's common. It's so common. Yeah, absolutely. Well, these are great stories for, I think, any actors listening to this podcast, because they need to be realistic and understand everybody's waiting for the big break. And this shows you that big break might come, but it may look completely different than you thought it would, or it might come and go in a heartbeat. So you got to be ready for those kinds of huge ups and downs in the movie business.
Yes, yes. And it's so interesting to me. It's a wonderful business because, well, I mean, where else can you have that excitement?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I could be a millionaire tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's crazy. You just never know what's going to happen. And like you said before, there really is no formula, you know, and Hollywood doesn't know either. I mean, they can take guesses on what's going to be successful, but they don't really know when it comes down to it. So moving on, flash forward decades later after Dark Angel, and you end up in this movie called Puppet Master: The Littlest Reich. Okay, and this is your introduction to the great producer Dallas Sonnier. And for those that don't know, Puppet Master is a horror film series about these little dolls that murder the hell out of people. I have not seen much of the series, but I've seen the movie that you made with Dallas that was written by the great Craig Zoller. How did you come to be in that crazy movie?
Because of Dallas. I have to say thank you, Dallas. Dallas is a true movie maker. We'll talk about him soon. He's the real deal. He knows this business in and out, and he's been a fan first, I guess, of these films, and he's in the business, obviously. But he happened to like Dark Angel, and he figured that would be a great addition for Puppet Master. And Puppet Master, that movie is amazing. I mean, wow. It is crazy, right? But in a good way.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you have to understand these types of films, you know. And I thought that little thing on my little Hitler on my neck, that was ingenious, really. So that was my introduction to Dallas, and I immediately liked Dallas, by the way, because I'm telling my wife all the time, Leslie, who's also a producer, okay, if you are like Dallas and Amanda, both the same, you are an overachiever. You are at every shot. I mean, yes, there's a director directing the movie, but I mean, he is there controlling the first and the last thing, even if it's your sleeve. He will make a decision on it. That's a real filmmaker. He has a vision. He's there 1,000%. That is the best producer I ever worked with in my life. Ever. Hands down. Respect. Yeah. I mean, you know him better than me now. So you know. And I was like, when Dallas calls, I'm coming. You know, when he called for PRAIRIE on the Prairie, I said, I'm there, no matter what. No matter what the role is.
That's awesome.
I mean, I was hoping. Oh, yeah. I have deepest respect for Amanda and Dallas. They are out there with you. Are out there. Come on. I mean, you actually just like them, and this is what it takes to make good movies. You have to be there every corner.
Yeah, they're so involved, you know, and I really respect, like you said, Dallas is there every day. He's looking at the makeup. He's looking at the shots. Amanda is probably my favorite person that I've ever worked for. You know, I'm not someone who traditionally has a boss. I like to be the director. I like to be the main producer. Because there's not a lot of people you work with. Sometimes they're not competent, you know, as we know. I'm sure you've encountered that many times. But as soon as I started working for Dallas, but especially directly with Amanda, I was like, I just told her, I was like, I am your soldier. I will do whatever you say, right? Tell me what to do, and I will make it happen, you know, because she was just, I respect her so much. Incredible producer. So quick story, because I have to tell you this. So as we're talking about this new Western, Terror on the Prairie. It's going to come out in the summertime from the Daily Wire. So the story behind casting you is kind of a fun one. You and I had worked together briefly on Assault on Rio Bravo, right? We'll talk about that next, but we're in Montana, weeks of pre-production, and we're trying to cast the role of the Swede. And I had been kind of working with the casting director, David, just a little bit on some ideas. Dallas really didn't want anyone with an accent, right? He was totally against having a fake accent. Not he didn't want it to be phony, right? He doesn't like anything that's phony, from phony blood to anything like that, right? He wants it to be authentic. So we're looking at all these people. I have a couple of my actors in Arizona try an accent. I'm like, just try it. They're about to give up. One night, we're sitting around in the living room, Dallas, Amanda, Michael Polish, the director. We're talking about this role, and I say, what about Matthias, right? What if he's German instead of Swedish? And Dallas just looks at Amanda and is like, make the call. So that was so cool, right? You know, that was so cool. And then boom, you were on the movie, right? But I was thinking in my head, I'm like, why have I not thought of this, you know, that we had just worked together on Assault on Rio Bravo. So that was awesome that it ended up happening.
I couldn't believe when you left me that message. I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. This is just like meant to be. Because, you know, I mean, I'm German. That's the closest to Swedish. And there were German cowboys and Swedish settlers. Let's call them settlers, right? Isn't that, I mean, I think I was meant to play that role, really, because, you know, thank you. That was like a good suggestion, you know? I was so happy to be part of this movie. I'm a fan of Gina Carano. We all are.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
She's just a wonderful woman. And she's the real deal. So I figured there's a bunch of real deals on this set. This is going to be real. I like tough guys. You know, I like tough movies, you know. You can be cute, but you're going to have to really show some backbone there. And everyone does. That cast was amazing. I mean, I was only there 5 days. Wow, heads up to you all. I came and I looked at all these people and I thought, they look so real. Because Dallas makes everything look real, right? So the actors were all yellow teeth and beards, and they weren't trying to look pretty, you know what I mean? And I really appreciated that.
Yeah, we wanted it to be as authentic of a Western as possible, you know, more grounded in reality. And that's kind of what, you know, when I first started watching Dallas's movies, that's why I got hooked on them, because from Bone Tomahawk to Brawl in Cell Block 99 and Dragged Across Concrete, you're seeing consistently, you're like, people don't make movies like this anymore. This is like going back to the 70s and 80s with this very gritty, real, tough cinema, you know? So it's very tough. Yeah. And obviously Gina was perfect for that. You were perfect for that. So yeah, man, I'm really excited. I can't wait for hey, I don't know about that, but it was an honor to be part of it. And super excited, man. Summer. We'll be able to share this movie in the summertime with everybody.
What is Dallas saying? He likes it? He's happy about it?
Yes.
About the movie?
Yes. I will say that I've been able to see parts of it as well. And I think it's coming along really, really well. And I think Dallas feels great about it from everything that I've spoken, you know, with him about. And yeah, I mean, as you know, like the post-production process is a process, and the film just, you know, it evolves and becomes better, and you add the sound effects and you add the music, and it's just constantly changing. And even Martin Scorsese says every time he sees a rough cut of his movies, he throws up. And this is Martin Scorsese. So you got to remember, through the rough process, you really see this film getting better and better. And I think Terror on the Prairie is going to be one of the most memorable Westerns to come out in a long time. So we'll see.
Wow. I have a feeling you're right. Yeah. Such a different movie than the movie we worked together in Assault on Rio Bravo, isn't it?
Yeah. So let's talk about like that. Yes.
That was like a milder version of something. What was your take on it?
Well, it's a totally different, you know, so everyone, we met originally in a totally different circumstance, Matthias and I, on the set of this kind of spaghetti Western style B-movie Western called Assault on Rio Bravo, right? and it's a sort of a star vehicle for the Russian Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Is the idea behind that? And then you got Matthias playing one of the bad guys, and you've got some other recognizable faces from action movies. And I had the glorious role of being a background extra on this movie. I wanted to just experience being a background extra. So that was, I thought, to see that side of the production would be really interesting. But that's how we met. Right. How did you come to do that? And what are your favorite memories from it and all that?
Well, one of the really favorite memories, to be honest, was meeting you and John Mars. I didn't know what role you have. Because when you're an actor, you're segregated at times from the other actors. I was always in jail, so I didn't know what you were playing. And I kind of got the idea what John Mars was playing, but what happened outside of that jail cell, I never knew. They were shooting, so I don't know who's doing what. All I thought, there's Travis and there's John Mars, and they somehow run this thing here. That's what I always thought. You guys are. Because I always thought if those two wouldn't be there, the film would not be there. So that I could figure out really quick. And then the rest, I had no idea what's going on. I literally don't know. I was in my little jail cell for the whole movie. In the end, I had a shootout. That's all I remember.
Well, what you're saying is footage. Actually... go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, and then I saw the footage. And while we were shooting, I thought, ooh, that DP is really not bad for that amount of money I know they have in the camera. And I thought, curious to see how this is going to work out. I had a bit good hopes for it because I know Alexander Nevsky. I worked with him many times. Technically, and in a lot of aspects, he will make a good movie for not so much money. I mean, we shot a movie together. It was almost $8 million. We shot 2 or 3 movies that were around $1.7 million, and this is low budget Assault on Rio Bravo, but he always brings them in good quality. He has good post, he has good editing, he has good sound. So I know it will not be bad visually and sounding good and all that. So I wasn't worried about that. Is it like Dallas Sonier? No, it's a whole different genre and world. Cannot even compare it. It's like apples and oranges, So you have to know what you're getting. What product that's like soap compared to a drama or something. I mean, it's not the same,
Totally.
It's 2 different worlds of West. Yeah, there's many different westerns, by the way. There's movie westerns. There's a Tomahawk movie. Bone Tomahawk. There's different. The western genre is very round. It depends what you make from it. You can do anything. You can make it really dirty, realistic, or you can glorify it or misinterpret it. There's a lot of ways you can go about to shoot a Western, and they all kind of work because we are all so eager to want to love a Western. I mean, as soon as I see a horse and someone with a cowboy hat, and we all have these romantic feelings. Yeah.
Yeah. A couple thoughts on what you said. You talked about being an actor on set, being stuck in the jail. I find it so interesting. Something I've learned over the years is everyone experiences a movie set so differently depending on where they are, right? On that set. Yeah. If you're an actor, you see this thing. If you're camera, you see this thing. And, the first week of Terror on the Prairie, I was mostly producing, chicken wrangling, doing all kinds of crazy odds and ends. And I was outside. I wasn't shooting. I wasn't on camera. I wasn't part of the nucleus. Right. And I didn't really know what was going on. But then as soon as they put me on the B camera, I saw everything that was actually happening at the core. And if you're not at the core, you don't really know what's going on. So it's just interesting. People will say things about a movie set, and I just try to remind them, but there's lots of perspectives of what happened, so you got to keep that in mind, Yeah.
I mean, you work in B camera, so people understand, doesn't mean B camera is there at every moment, at any moment, at any time.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you have two eyes. It's just like two eyes, right? So you are there through the whole movie. You see every take of every action. You get to know every actor intimately. You know every actor by the time this movie is over. You know their performances. You know who they are as human beings. You can gauge them because you get to know them more intimately than anybody else. You and the director and the producer, you will know each other when the film is over. You know the film. You know how it looks like. You're going to know how it looks like. I have no idea as an actor, unless I'm the leading guy and I'm running the show behind the scene, like Gina, then myself, every take I'll be there, trust me. But as a bad guy in the background, no, you're just an actor. That's a different view, you know?
Absolutely.
Very much
Yeah.
so. Especially when you come to movies and you only have 5 days out of 3 weeks. You know, it's like going to high school and you come from another town and you sit by yourself on the table over there and there's the popular kids. That's just how it is. You know?
Yes, that is true. That is true. So I don't know if you noticed, I'm wearing the Assault on Rio Bravo t-shirt right now. So I am excited about the movie. You're here on the back for people that are watching this on YouTube. So I'm very excited about what?
There's a really interesting story. It's a Confederate thing, right, in the back.
Yeah.
When we did, we had the similar shirts on Assault on Rio Bravo, right? And with the Confederate flag in the back. And it's like a certain crew refusing to wear the shirts.
That's so funny.
I know. And I thought this is so sad because this is part of history, right? I mean,
yeah.
What are you going to pretend it wasn't there? We had a bit of a laugh with Alexander Nevsky and myself. We were like, how is it even possible? Some don't even want to touch that T-shirt. But that's Hollywood. I guess that's why we are working also with Dallas, right? I mean, I'm not a politically actor. I'm not an activist or anything. But it's just I want to be generous enough to not get stoned when I walk down the street with a Confederate movie shirt on. You know,
right?
That would be.
Well, I didn't take it that seriously because it's the whole movie's about the Civil War. You know, you guys are ex-Confederate soldiers. It makes sense to the movie, you know. But I try not to freak out like people do these days. Can you share any news about Assault on Rio Bravo? Some of the people who are involved are probably going to listen to this. When is it coming out? Do you know?
Yes. Yeah, not surprisingly. But I would take that back because I know Alexander's work is always good. It's a good-looking movie. It's looks really nice, and I heard through the grapevine the distributors really like it. So that means a lot. They actually thought it was shot for way more money. So it'll come out probably in June or something. However, it's a bit more complicated because Alexander is shooting 3 movies in order to have a package so the distributors have a better sale. And he's shooting, he finished a horror movie that's almost edited together. And he's going to shoot one more action flick, which is a contemporary action movie, so that the sales package is more diverse and it's better for the numbers. So, but I would assume the film is ready to be watched in probably a couple months. And
awesome.
You'll be positively surprised. Yes.
The thing I'm most looking forward to in that movie is that I played both bad guys chasing civilians and I played civilians. So I'm hoping that there's a scene where I chase myself, you know, where there's a shot of me chasing the townsperson who is me. We'll see, you know.
This is so typical for low budget movies. You have to really be innovative with your actors, what you can get away with it, you know. And in a cowboy movie, it's a bit more easy because you can put a wig on someone and a cowboy hat, like in theory, right? You could have blonde hair like you do, and then next take they give you a dark wig, a cowboy hat, different outfit. You almost can be a Mexican riding down the street. with a beard or something. So the advantage is that we can cheat a lot.
Oh yeah.
And,
Well, especially on
they,
Terror on the Prairie, they made me look like you. When I first volunteered to do that stunt, I told Brian Christensen, said, if you can make me look like this 6'5" muscle man, then I will, gladly do it. So yeah.
And then it's in the trailer. It's in the trailer, that shot. And there's no way you're going to know that's not me. There's no way. Because it was ingenious. That really works.
Yeah.
Or we shouldn't even tell people. No, we should tell people in our group, obviously. It was you.
Right.
And that's my deepest respect. Yeah. Wow. I mean, that looks so brutal in the trailer, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. People always go, like you said, they go, ow, ouch. That's their reaction, So if you
ask you a personal question?
Yeah.
I need to ask you, did it hurt? How bad was it must have hurt?
So, it really didn't hurt as much as I thought that it would, because I thought that I was going to land on my back and have the wind knocked out of me.
Me too.
But it looks like I landed on my neck in the shot, which is why so many people cringe in it. What I actually did is I landed on my shoulders and then rolled over. So it wasn't that bad. I mean, I was slightly sore or stoved up, as the cowboys would say, for a couple of days, but it was actually, I was more sore from riding the horse, because I had to ride it with those weird stirrups, the open stirrups, and it, muscles were just different than a normal saddle, normal set of stirrups. So, but it wasn't that bad. The one where Cowboy Cerrone jumped off of the ledge and tackled me into the ground actually hurt a lot more, because my face hit the dirt, so that one hurt a little bit more.
Is that the picture that Gina posted on her Instagram?
Yes.
There's
so
a picture,
yeah. I'm part of that shot. I shouldn't spoil it, but I am part of that stunt, So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw it.
So to close off, I don't know how much you want to talk about it, but you have a Western that you're trying to make. You're starting to put it together. It's called Kinski Unleashed. I love the title. I've read the script, at least the last draft. Do you want to share anything with our audience about that project?
Yeah, it's a project I'm very excited about. And I'm very, very glad I sent you the script, and Leslie and I got your notes, and I thought, clever, Travis. He's a filmmaker, that one. We definitely implemented all the notes you said. They were so smart. And you'll see. You'll love it. We completely cleaned up the script, by the way. There's no cussing or anything in there. Very clean. But it is basically, okay, I'm not Dallas Sonnier. I'm not Alexander Nevsky. I'm a completely different type of filmmaker. I'm influenced by the European spaghetti westerns, and I wanted to mix that with Rambo and Taken, because I'm a very physical man. So this movie will have will have the best stunt guys that I can assemble from Europe and America together. And when we have a brawl in a saloon or something, that'll be 10-minute brawl, and it will be devastating, and it will be brutal and realistic and harsh to look at. But it's not a Dallas movie. It is a popcorn entertainment. So you destroyed my life. You kidnapped my daughter. You shouldn't have done this. It's like Taken in the Western form, and we want to make it entertaining. So I was a little bit in the beginning too much influenced of Rambo 5 because I liked it so much. And it went a bit too harsh, so my wife toned it down with me together towards happy ending and less. The violence is not so important. It's just the action is really there. We toned down the violence a little bit. I'm sure if it would be a Dallas movie, it'd be more different than what I do. But I want to do entertainment. I want this to be on Netflix, where people say, "Oh my God, thank you," because I really like people, you know. But it's a Western. I grew up like this. Terrence Hill, Bud Spencer, Terrence Hill, and Bud Spencer. He was like, bam, always, hitting everybody. And as a boy, I know how important it is to have some figure make things right with the fist. That's just very primal, And we have this horse in it, which will be the hardest part to find. A beautiful horse, which is a companion. It's like a dog. So you have a bit of that in there, the relationship between the horse and the lead character through the whole movie, and then it turns out it's not even his horse. It's the mentor's horse. But so, yeah, then again, if we can make that, obviously, Travis, we already signaled each other. I want you to do that with me together. And it'll be an entertaining Western, an action Western. So,
yeah, a shoot 'em up is what we call them typically. I like that term, shoot 'em up, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a fun. What'd you say?
In my case, it's more beat 'em up.
That's true. Yeah, exactly.
Travis, so we all watch movies, though I'm more in the martial art. I'm not even a martial artist, forget it. I'm in the action genre, like The Rock or whatever, right? Not saying I'm The Rock, but I'm just Matthias Hues. So there is a way, I have a new style that has, when Steven Seagal came on with Above the Law, I thought that was very, very entertaining. It was different than Jean-Claude Van Damme. And we are working out with some stunt people and fight people to create some, also a new style. So there's another guy, Olivier Schneider. You may not know him, but you see all the Taken movies. He created the fighting style in Taken and in Bourne Identity, and then he moved over to James Bond. So we are again going to create something in between that you have not seen. It is not the 360. Obviously, I'm a cowboy. It's not going to happen. But it's a new style, and I want to satisfy the urges of the people to watch bad guys getting beat up in a different way, and it's going to be very realistic and brutal and like bone breaking. There's going to be a lot of rigging, and basically, if you have a saloon like the one we used in Assault on Rio Bravo, there's no way we could shoot in that saloon because that saloon will not be standing afterwards. So there has to be a lot of breakaways, furniture, breakaways, pillars, and all that stuff. It's going to all go down. So this has to be shot on the stage. Yes, you can walk in through the front door, but then we'll take the saloon apart. That's what it takes. And I was thinking in Assault on Rio Bravo, I mean, my fingers are always itching to beat someone up, but you need the props for it. You need to stage it. This is very, very, very normal. Like when they did Above the Law, that scene in the billiard place where he's beating up all the bad guys, that place is being built. These tables are built. The glass is built. People fly into mirrors and everything. That has to be created, And people want to see this. They want to see this. They don't want to just see you kicking someone. They go down. No, they have to fly over the bar into the bottles, into the mirror. So this is not an easy undertaking. This takes a stunt team to do this, and nobody ever has time. When I was doing movies in the 70s, in the 80s and 90s, we had about a week for the last fight. A week, 7 days, 6 days a week, just 12 or 14 hours a day, just one scene fighting. Now it's like, okay, we got like between lunch and 3, the sun's going down. Okay, we got 4 people there. You go over there and you do a little like this. That's not satisfying to me.
Yeah.
If you do that type of genre, if you do Terror in the Prairie, it's not about this. It's the dirtiness and the brutality behind it. If you do this, Taken-ish, a Steven Seagal, Western type thing, whatever, the audience wants to be satisfied with that type of brutality. you fly out of the window. Boom. That's not an easy thing, you know. You kick someone out of the window. I've got out of the window many times. You need special glass and all that stuff, you know. You need ratcheting, you need all kinds of. So
Yeah,
so
absolutely. I was gonna say, I think your goal for that film, and specifically the saloon brawl, should be to create the most iconic and most brutal saloon brawl that's ever been put in a Western. Because those are great. There's lots of great saloon brawls, but no one's ever done it in a way to say that's the one. And it reminds me of the great scene in John Carpenter's They Live, where the two guys fight over the sunglasses for like 5-10 minutes, you know. And this scene, like you said, it could go on for 10 minutes, and it could be the one that everybody remembers as the iconic bar brawl of all time.
And what is easier than to have 30 people in a bar that all gonna crawl out of there on their stomach, right? That's like endless. You can do a lot of things, and there's a lot of ways you can shoot this. You can have a lot of fun with it. So, one more thing. When I do a movie, when you do a movie, when we all do a movie, if, let's say, I'm the lead of a movie, I will make sure that the bad guy is more cunning, more smart, better looking. He's a devil, right? I'm not intimidated. I would take someone way better than me, because you're only as good as the Antichrist, you know.
Oh yeah.
And it's you have to somehow win against this person, against all odds, right? So the hardest part is to find someone that can play these type of roles, that is like a god, that is charming, that's everything, but he's a devil. He's a freaking devil. So that's casting is an important thing. But you also have to, there's a list of actors that in a certain genre that only these actors will sell that movie. So but on that list, it's always the same names. So we're talking about a $2 million movie. There's a list of people that you have to have in the movie to even sell the movie. I mean, I like Mickey Rourke and all those people, obviously, right? But it's always the same people.
Yeah, it would be nice to use someone different and give a different spin on what the audiences are used to. You know, your whole comment about the bad guy and that you have no ego as the lead in terms of, you know, having a maybe, you know, a more famous actor or whatever playing that role. And it brings to mind for me the Mission Impossible movies, okay? For years, movie after movie, you've got Tom Cruise versus old men. That's all it is. Old man, you know, every single film. And then all of a sudden, the last one that came out, it's him against Henry Cavill. So it's Tom Cruise versus Superman, right? The bad guy is sexier than Tom Cruise, taller than Tom Cruise, stronger than Tom Cruise. And it was the best one they ever made, because you know what? There was moments where I'm sitting in the theater and I was asking myself, is Tom Cruise going to die? Because I think that he might die. And that's what created the suspense. It was great, you know? So.
I know, I love it. I love it. I just always think that's so easy. And someone that understood this from day one is Sylvester Stallone. He always made his opponents larger than, I mean, Rocky IV. Dolph Lundgren, by all means, is a god, physically, right? Right? I mean, it's like, poor Stallone looks like a beautiful specimen of a human being with the hair like that and the muscles. Like, how am I ever going to win this, right? Stallone understands it. He understood it. You need someone bigger, better than you to beat him, you know. And Mission Impossible, the last one was amazing. That bathroom fight, I ate it up every second of it. I was like, yes.
Oh, yeah.
We're back in business.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I just have to say, I think that Kinski Unleashed is a very fun project, and I hope it comes together soon. Of course, you know that I will be there, and you know, as we've said, there's so many different kinds of Westerns, and they don't have to be the same, and I appreciate each of them, try to appreciate each of them for what it is. So this is going to be an iconic Western. I'm sure you're going to get it made because you're determined. Since that girl talked to you in Germany, you've been a determined man, and I don't see that ending anytime soon. So, Matthias, thank you so much for being on this podcast. I just want to thank you for being a guest and taking time to do this.
I was really looking forward, Travis, to talk to you. I knew we would talk. Great job. Thank you. Thank you, Travis. And I'll see you
till the
on
next
set.
time we make a movie together. Exactly. Yes. Till the next time.
Well, that's all for my conversation with Matthias Hues. And stay tuned for more podcast episodes coming soon. Thank you so much for listening.